Hello. Hey, Gurley.
Hi.
Are you?
Long time no see.
Yeah, I've been on the road, like you, not?
I saw that. Like, are you having a world tour now or what?
Yes. By the way, did you do the meeting last week or not?
No, I got an info that it was cancelled. So I did not join. Maybe it was happening, but I did not.
No, okay, yeah, because that was the topic, and I didn't get a recording somewhere, so I don't know. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, we can do it, and it's good that you're here because we have I think, a light agenda at the moment. So I will share maybe the agenda topics. You see the slides?
Yeah.
You see my screen? Yeah.
We see.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we can do CNCF update. But okay, we first have what we have. Yeah, we can start, right? I mean, people might join later. Or should we wait? Maybe let's start with the agenda bashing.
Yes.
So we have release content, Alex. I don't know, we did that, right? I don't know whether we have anything to discuss.
There are a couple of fixes there that have just been merged in for data server. There's also for the blame part that we noticed. I think there's also an open one for SDC protos, which then should also go into data server. And it's this blame tree with deviations.
All right. Okay. All right. Is there anything else from a content perspective?
I have one more agenda item, the Nephew dev event.
Yeah. That's also a good one. Yeah. Nephew event. Good. Yeah.
Yep.
Was there a hand raised for someone? Yeah. No. Okay. Any other topics you want to add? All right. If not, then yeah. So Alex, so the fixes, are they already in?
So one part is the SDC protos is still in review, and then this will need to be also bumped in the other repositories as well, once that's there.
Okay. So, and are we planning to? Is it? Would we plan a release this week with the content, or?
Marcus, do you have? We could.
I mean, let's discuss maybe all the items, because there were a few from last time, because the meeting was not happening last week. So let's see. So we did a release, right? So linter is in. Metric issue, that's in. Yeah. Delete final config. What is the status with this one, Alex?
So I made these issues, but they have not been looked into since.
All
So
right.
I was off, so I haven't had a chance to look into them. I also not sure if this deviation ping pong has been resolved in the latest fixes that were pushed out. So in the the newest version.
Yeah. The question is, we can monitor it, right? So the question is, did we? Yeah. So one of the questions that I had to the team is, did people play with the deviations, and was there any feedback regarding them with all the changes that we did?
So from my side, not specifically. I still need to look into it. There were some issues raised from some other team colleagues regarding various different aspects. So it's now we're in the process of figuring out which ones are triaging, right? To figure out which ones are applicable, or if it's just some other issue. So that's ongoing. That's happening this week. So I should be able to give some more feedback next week. But yeah, so far seems like I've been able to resolve some of these things already. So let's see. In the demo, we also played around. So last week, Marcus and I presented SDC at Container Days, which is a conference in Hamburg held yearly. And there we were able to perform a live demo where we were also able to show with a non-revertive configuration, modifying the deviation resource to restore specific values within that deviation resource to the device. And this was working nicely in the demo.
Yeah, we are running it in CI at the moment. So Hans has put it in CI, right? That's why we released it. So at least those tests should be okay. But of course, there's always other environments in which it could work or not work. Or I mean, we have to monitor these ones, right?
Yep. And part of that is so I've been playing around for your CI/CD setup and your testing environment. You have a few things there. You have some netconf and some GNMI. I'm also playing around with confd, which is a netconf based netconf server, sort of able to configure a device over netconf. So maybe this is something we can also add to the testing infrastructure, because it behaves a bit differently to some of the other devices that I think that you've got there. So that's maybe also something that we can try and support, as this is what our backend is mainly using. So this would also provide us some security.
That would be good. That confd, and it's free, right?
Yeah, there's a basic version. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, for the rest, I think Severin, the issue with Talos is still pending, right?
Yeah, so actually I could not fix it. So we still have the cache error there. Yes.
So that's still open. Okay. Deployment.
Is there a recording available?
Recording?
For the container days.
So it takes them a few weeks. It is recorded, but it will take them a few weeks to publish them. When I have the link, then I will share it also in the Discord and also mention it then in the meetup.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, that's good. And then I can add also to the site.
Perfect.
That site, and if you have the slides or something that you guys used, you can, if they are open, just share them, right?
Can do that as well.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I believe. So what other outstanding things are there? The thing that I am still, or I'm planning to work on, maybe this week or the week after, is this network-wide transaction, right? But I'm not sure, it's less relevant for you, I think, Alex, right?
Yeah, correct. One thing that would be interesting for us is to start looking into the secrets
Yeah.
secrets part, as this is now becoming something that's being asked about, how we can do applying of secrets.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, now we have the the non-reverted and reverted mode in there. I think we said we'd start looking into the secrets afterwards. So this would be something that we should keep in mind.
Yeah, the idea here was, I can maybe it's good to discuss it a little bit, right? Because I agree this might be an important one, and we need to look at, actually I did implement it a little bit at some point, but then we had all other stuff, so I didn't progress. But I stole, wait, SDC. The idea came from how Kubernetes does it. So where is it? It's probably one of the oldest discovery. Here, yeah, that's the one. So the idea is, yeah, so we would create a reference to the secret in the configs, right? And that would be a reference, and I think this is the PR of some code that I did. So the idea was that, what did I do again? It's a while ago.
I think this is the structure for the config spec.
Yes.
So you define a bit more of how this could look in the spec, but there's not really an implementation behind it, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
I left some comments as well, but I also don't remember what I wrote.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So the idea is, yeah. So this is what was the problem that we have is the following, right? Or the challenge that we have is the following. We have this config blob, right? That you don't have a proper. So it's basically it's a Yang blob, right? With data that adheres to a schema. So the idea is, and so what we actually have to discuss is who is doing that and where are we doing that, right? So, so what Kubernetes did for it is they had this concept of sensitive paths, which could be just JSON paths, right? That have a reference to a secret reference, right? So the secret is then stored in Kubernetes, right? And so what the idea is that for these paths on which there is a secret reference, we would change the content that is in the config blob with the value that is in the secret, which would be a hash or something like that, right? So it means that somehow someone needs to parse the data and change the content towards these with these new values, such that the data that is stored in Git is kind of let's say obfuscated with or is modified with the content of the true secret that the device uses, right? So that is kind of the idea. So in other words, the config blob would be stored in Git, right? And that, of course, you don't want to have sensitive data in Git. So the idea is that you somehow have an additional information with paths to sensitive data, and then when you get the data towards the device, we need to translate or transform the data that was referenced with the real secrets. Right? If that makes sense?
Yep.
Now, I think, so Marcus, this leads to a discussion, where should this happen, right? So is the config server just the interface towards getting the secrets from the Kubernetes API server and just sends the data as an update with a certain priority towards the data server, and the data server merges it? So this is what we actually have to discuss, right? And I think that's probably a good thing to do at this stage, given the status that we are in, because I think this will be a problem for many people to get into production.
Yep, it is for us. So that's.
So maybe that's the first thing that we probably have to tackle then, right? Yeah. So is that a little bit clear what I was saying, or do I need to make a drawing?
So for me, it's okay, but maybe it makes sense to have a drawing so we can have something.
Yeah, maybe let me quickly draw something, then at least people can understand maybe better the issue. So let's say here we have a config blob, right? So this is, let's say, the config CR, and here we actually have Yang content, right? And so the issue is that this will be stored in Git. So like your secrets and your passwords and what have you, you don't want to be in this blob, right? So the idea is that what could be in this blob is what was proposed. So I took it actually from Kubernetes when I was digging into it. So it could be paths to paths in the config with what they call a secret reference. So they would point to a secret reference. And so the value of this data, which in this case would only be leaves, right, would be replaced with the content that is in the secret reference, right? So let's maybe make a simple example. So here is a secret that is stored into Kubernetes. So what we actually, so the proposal is that I call it config server, right, and data server. Right? So right now, so the API is here, right? So basically, what would happen is, so what today happens in the config servers, it takes this, it parses it, and it makes a gRPC. So this is a gRPC interface towards the data server, right? And then here we have the tree, right? And then so we merge it into the tree, and then based on all the data that we get, we are transacting to the device through GNMI or netconf, right? So that's kind of what happens more or less today, right? So the idea is, so there's two things that needs to happen. One is to fetch the data, right? And the second is to merge the data into the content that's going to the device. So the question that I'm having, or that I'm asking the people, is we have two options. Either the merge happens here, right? And then, so all the content happens in the config server, or the alternative is that the config server just gets the data, retrieves the data, and sends it through the gRPC to the data server, and the data server merges it.
So we already have this in place in data server, right? This merging. So I think that keeping it this, I mean, we have for the deviations and for multiple intents, we have this all handled on the data server side. So
Correct, yeah.
from my side,
No, I think isn't it regarding merging the config snippet with the secret, like
Yes.
replacing the placeholder in that config snippet? So that's not what we do in data server, right? We merge multiple configuration snippets, but not like replace some content of it.
my
So
understanding would be that we wouldn't have any value inside the config snippet for a secret, but just the path and the reference to a secret. And so you could generate in the config server, you could generate then an intent that says this path has this value and this value is obtained from the secret, rather than the data server going and fetching the secret.
Yeah, that's also my
So
my thinking. The data server has no notion of the Kubernetes API so far, right? So it should come in via an already. So I mean, the gRPC can contain a list of secrets like this mapping structure that is shown up there, right? And try to replace something. But I have the tendency of keeping that stuff away from data server and just ingesting valid configuration snippets or resolved configuration snippets in there and let config server do the resolving, right? So to me, that seems to be the right separation of concerns. Not sure what you think, Alex.
So when it comes, yeah, I agree that the data server should just handle resolved configs. The question is how we want that to be passed, right? So we could do it where config server will generate a final snippet where it's resolved all of the secrets into the tree already, right? So we'll do this merge and replace. That's sort of like this option 1. And option 2 would be that config server takes the config Yang content, submits this as one intent, and then takes the secret paths and generates sort of either 1 or n intents out of this secret references, which have sort of, let's say, deviations. We have this priority -1 or +1. We can do the same thing with the secrets. And that would be sort of another approach. The question is, if data server, when you start handling these extra intents that come from secrets, maybe then these references become a bit annoying, in which case it would be easier to go for option 1. But also data server has already done this merging, already has the logic to do this merging of multiple intents into the tree. So option 2 then means that we don't have duplicated code in config server and data server. So I'm a bit torn there. I don't, yeah.
It has a bit of implications. So I try to identify or write down what the difference is between option 1 and 2. And I think I captured it right, I think. But in option 2, it has an implication on how we do deviations, right? Because right now what we do is that the deviations, the non-revertive deviations, gets a priority -1 of the original intent, right? And the names are the same, right? So option 2, we would need to have agree. So then I think, because at the end of the day, the secret paths, or let's say the intent with the secrets, still belongs to the original intent, right? Because we still want to report our deviations as part of this entity, right?
Yeah.
Now we also have a challenge with deviations, because if we actually report the real value, we leak the secrets. We cannot do that either, right?
Yes, also, yeah. It has to be masked somehow.
Yes. So if that is true, we need to think this a little bit through. I mean, I think it's good to have this discussion such that everybody can brainstorm a little bit around this. Right, and then we can decide what is the best way to go, right?
Maybe option 3 would be to have, instead of just a config that has secret references inside it, have a completely a secret config. Sort of like you have in Kubernetes a secret resource and a config map resource, which are essentially the same, just one of them is a bit more strict with the permissions, right? So this could also be an option.
That you create a completely different config with all the secrets, which has a higher priority than the rest, and then it stays all the same, except that we might mask all the deviations or something. We just say there are deviations, but we don't say what they are. right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we already have this this config blob already has this path and value concept, right? So that instead of path and value, it can be path and secret reference, which would be sort of a third option.
Yeah. Option 3, manage the secret info through dedicated or multiple, right? That doesn't matter, right? Through dedicated.
Yeah, a different resource kind.
Like a different kind, or so config secret or something like that, or you
Yeah,
want
on my head it's like this, but I mean this is just brainstorming. The details can be.
Yeah, sure. I was more thinking of a config with a knob somewhere to say this is secret, and then we mask it or something. Because then you don't need additional storage and stuff like that. But maybe it's actually not a bad idea.
In my head, it's represented just as another config resource, right?
Yeah,
Down the line.
if you do it through a different kind, the advantage is that you also get different storage, right?
Yeah,
So-
which might be important for having secret, because in the background, right, we're storing them on disk, these config blobs.
Yes. So the advantage of having a different kind is that you can potentially store them with encryption or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my idea for option 3 as well. That's
Yeah. That's probably not a bad option. The only disadvantage I see with option 3 is that it then means that people have to manage them separate, right? So sometimes people generate these configurations, right?
Yeah, but they would have, if you have to manage them, you'd have to somehow do some steps there to remove the secret from the config blob anyway, or have secret. I mean, for us, we have secrets coming in a different pipeline action anyway, so we wouldn't have them as part of the main config blob. I don't know how everyone else would have it, but I'm guessing it would have to be separated there as well. So somewhere you're going to have some separation or merging, right? And at that point, the merging instead of merging into.
Yeah, option 3 is the easiest for us, I think, to implement.
Yeah.
Option 3 with the infrastructure we have today is the easiest.
Yeah, it also has some nice advantages, but then you have to manage a new CR type.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, the question is, I don't know, Evgeny, is there other people on the call who have a clue? Evgeny, you have a clue, you have a view on this, or not yet?
Not yet.
So the problem is the following. So we have this, so in configs of network devices, but in general, right, you have this issue that passwords, hashes, so there's all kinds of information that is kind of secret, right? So the issue typically is you don't want that to end up in Git, right?
Yeah, it's understandable what the topic is overall, but have not have any implementation preference yet. For sure, we have to have some dedicated storage for that.
Yeah, so option 3 basically means that we create a dedicated CR. What it means actually is that if you generate a config of a device, let's say you have an MD5 hash, that you can still have that in your base config with with something that is not relevant, right? And then you would have to create a dedicated config snippet that is kind of having the real values, and that would be secret somehow. Whether we still do that then through a secret or not, I think is debatable.
But in any case, when you get the show running config, you always not for all devices, but you have always have these hashes that changes a lot. And if you are just bound to some configuration, you either select the checksum from the netconf configuration or do something, but you always use XPath to remove all these hashes from the configs. I believe that's in my operational practice.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, what you're basically saying, irrespective of whether you do tree, you still have to do the masquerading of the data for running config.
Yeah. Even you are working with the CLI and so storing or just show running config, you always remove this data out.
Yeah, or masquerade it or something like that. Yeah.
Or masquerades of some sorts, and that's what I was saying. You can rely only for the netconf configuration checksum. That configuration have not changes because of these hashes recalculated or something like.
But there's another point there. This running config resource type also needs to have masks for the
Yeah.
sensitivity.
But then is it not better, Alex, that we would basically have a config where with all the masquerading, right? So you have a CR, whether it's in the same or in a dedicated, doesn't really matter. And I'm of the opinion, probably, I mean, my current thought is to leverage the secrets backend already, because they have this storage layer, right, with the right plugin that makes it encrypted and stuff like that, right? So
If it's enabled, yes.
yeah, of course. But anyhow, you need to do something here no matter what, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with having secrets as the source, because that also plays quite nicely with secret operators,
Yeah.
right? So if you have Vault secret operator or external secret operator, these will generate Kubernetes secrets. And I think this is quite a nice integration, but we still need to reference them somehow.
Yeah, correct. So what I'm thinking, so irrespective of whether you use a dedicated CR or one that you already have, right? Basically, what was in this CR somehow is that here you have paths to references of secrets, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel that seems to be a good way to handle this, right? And maybe what we should do is either have a dedicated CR with those, right? Or add them to the existing ones, right? But I think long story short, it's probably because right now in config server, we anyhow manage them all as a transaction right now, right? So in other words, we could basically parse all the CRs, whether it's in the same or in a dedicated one, grab all of this data, do the referencing, and send it to the data server as a dedicated entity, right? With all the parts in it.
Yeah.
And then we use it to also do the masquerading, you see? So
if we were to have a different or somewhere, the issue I see here is we have duplicated data, right? So we have sensitive paths. In this case, is it part of this schema types? It doesn't. I mean, I'm just reading from this PR, right? But we will also have somewhere where we define these paths a second time, which I think is what my comment here is supposed to say, right? We already have this information elsewhere. If we have, let's say we take the same config resource. No, let's say we take a separate config resource, right? So we have config blob, so the config resource, and we have a secret config resource. Secret config resource can use as the backend the Kubernetes API still, for example, right? It doesn't need to have a dedicated API extension. As in my mind, what we should do is in the config, in this resource, it will be a list of paths and secret refs.
yes.
In which case, it doesn't actually store any sensitive data. We're just, the sensitive data is in the Kubernetes secrets.
Correct.
And there, we already have all of these paths listed, right?
Yes.
So if we already have all these paths, I don't think that we necessarily need to define an extra level of, or an extra time these paths twice.
Agree. Yeah, agree.
So just to be auto-discovered, right? So we just take a list of all the paths that exist in this secret config, and these will be
the way I look at this, whether we do it to a dedicated CR or not doesn't really matter, but it's actually the fact that you have this list of paths is basically, I have the feeling we should treat them as a dedicated config CR, like a dedicated intent.
Yeah, this was my suggestion.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
This was suggestion 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 and 3 both have this. Yeah.
So in other words, if we do that, right, then we could just, so config server could just do the resolution of the secret reference, give the data to the data server, right? And then I think, Marcus, the question is, do you do the masquerading for all the various information that we have or not?
I can.
Because you can also validate whether these parts are Yang, correct Yang and stuff like that, right? So I have the feeling that it's better to do those type of stuff in the data server, because you have, that's what you typically do, and you can also then masquerade it towards when you do running config.
But what about recovery and so on? To some extent, you rely on the running config to play that back as recovery config, right?
Yeah. So in other words, wait, as recovery config, you mean from the config server point of view?
Yeah.
No, config server doesn't do anything with running config. It's just a pass through to the user.
Okay. Do we always only want to display running config without these secrets? Or, like, I'm trying to figure out, do we need to distinguish and have two modes here? Or will it always only be hidden?
So we could potentially, and now we need to have a flag somewhere, right? So which we could do with SDCTL, right? So we add the flag, because
yeah, no, I mean, the first thing I think is the question to Alex, like, or also to you, do we need that? Do we have a use case for that right now? And the only thing that I saw right now was like obvious, the applied config that you restore on reconnect, as far as I remember. Or yeah, do we have, I mean, if there's other tools or whatever that take these running configs to store them or whatever, I can see the use case of also providing like the whole thing,
I think
right?
we should provide the ability to get it without masquerading, right? I think we should try to accomplish or have that knob, right? How, yeah, and then the question is, how do we expose that?
Mm-hmm.
But I think having the ability should be good. Yeah, sorry, let me drink.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, we don't have a use case right now where we need to have the secrets exposed in the running config. I also don't see a particularly nice way to access an unmasked running config that you can choose sort of without having to restart or reconfigure config server or data server. So it's something we could plan in, but for initial start, I think having it masked is fine.
Yeah, correct. I agree with you that the most important use case is to mask it, I think, but I always see that people will ask for something.
Yeah.
If we design it, let's have the option, but I don't think it's the highest priority to resolve. But at least design that we could get it without it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's always a requirement to not store them, at least together with the data. So if you can store it separately on the config operator or somehow on some other storage that encrypted, it's enough, I believe. And there's only requirements in the running production networks. But for sure, having this as a backup, if something goes wrong with operator for the user passwords, it can be option, but I believe it's for more for the less productive environment, at least.
Yeah, correct. And we should not put them in logging and stuff like that. So the typical best practices, I think, is no storage and no logging with the data, right?
Are these running configs, are these just a request sent to data server for getting all of the intents and then displaying it, or is it somehow kept in the config server's memory?
Nope. It's really a pass through. It doesn't even store it. Config server.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think the masking stuff should be fairly straightforward. I mean, you can have a special flag on the leaf values, right, Marcus? And then if it's a secret and you're not supposed to show secrets, you mark that value out. Otherwise, you don't. And then when it comes to deciding if you want to implement running config to show secrets or not, then it's a matter of ignoring or not ignoring this secret flag.
What appeared to me was like defining this paths. Would that what we want to take that from the CRs, or would we try to add something to the schemas to have it generally applicable? No.
Not to the schemas, right? I think we
Or
should.
like right next to the schemas or something like that. Just thinking out loud here.
I think what we should do to the data server itself. I like the idea from Alex that I treat this as like a dedicated intent, which has a higher priority, right? Somehow. And maybe we can indicate this is secretive information that you know that what it is about, right? But at the end of the day, for you, you will see. I mean, if you look at what config server is doing, right, it takes the blobs and it makes it XPaths with values, right? That's what the config server does, right? I would do the same here, except that the content of the value is coming from the secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I have the feeling is a good architecture is that we treat this as a config blob to you, right? With a dedicated intent. And that we maybe have somewhere indication that is secretive information, right? That you can treat it specially. And that's it, right?
Yeah, I guess that the idea that Marcus is going on here, correct me if I'm wrong, is that how a user can define which paths are secret, right? So whether we just keep, let's say, all of the paths that are defined in this secret intent, whether these are going to be the secret paths and that's it, or whether we have supplementary information along with the schema, whether it's in the schema or outside of the schema, that says always make sure that these paths are masked, regardless if they're mentioned in this secret config or not. Did I understand that correct?
Yeah, that was kind of the thought that went through my brain.
Yeah, but anyhow, I think the schema we cannot change, right? Because they come from the vendor, right? So
that's why I said have it as an additional information besides it. But yeah, I think like thinking about it once again, I think yeah, everything that really is important and a secret will end up in a secret. So yeah, it's probably nonsense to yeah, trying to externalize it. So
maybe what makes sense would be that we have this secret blob, and for those values that we want to set, we have this secret ref, but there could also just be a mask parameter there too. So if you, for example, have information that you personally don't set as part of a config, but the device will send back that you want to mask, potentially this could be something as an additional sort of no op. So don't do any secret fetching, but still regard this value as secret. That could also be a way to have this.
but we could do in the secret config CR somehow, right? We could say with a reference or without a reference, right?
Yeah.
And
exactly. And this will then be the source of truth for the secret paths.
yeah.
for example.
Okay. Let's sink that in a little bit, but I think right? But maybe probably that's the good one to tackle next, right? But I agree with you, Alex. This is, this is pending for a while. I think, this is good
Yeah,
moment.
it's good to visit it now.
Yeah. All right. Then we have what else did I have? Oh, yeah, here. Maybe, so Gurgly, since you are here, maybe let's discuss CNCF and Nephew, right? In that case, is that okay?
Yeah. For me, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So yes. So what our intent is to donate SDCIO to the CNCF in a sandbox level, which means that it would be a CNCF project.
Yes, but what does it mean to us, basically?
It would mean a better visibility for the community. So SDC would be represented in the CNCF homepage. We would have the chance to get Project Pavilion in KubeCons.
Yeah.
Which means that we can meet potential users and contributors. We will have access to the CNCF blog, so we will have a quota to put out blog posts about the project.
Okay.
And we will well, the people who are maintainers of the project will be CNCF maintainers, which means that they will have access to the Maintainer Summit, which is a one-day event pre-KubeCon.
Yeah.
And also, if you would like to be a CNCF ambassador, that is also a requirement to be a maintainer of a CNCF project.
So it's all bonus. Except for the Project Pavilion, you have to pay?
No, you have to apply and they have to select you.
Okay.
Oh, and we can get also support for a new logo if you want to.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so I am pro doing this. Is there anyone against it? And so we can start it any time.
This is all the pros. Are there also cons to it?
The cons are it's a bit of work, but I can carry the majority of it. Like it's administration. We have to file an issue to CNCF. We have to put the CNCF code of conduct into the documentation, and we will need to follow the CNCF code of conduct, which basically means that, I know, don't be mean kind of things.
No, then that's not an option.
So Marcus is excluded.
Yes. And we will need to transfer the trademark and the domain to CNCF. So that is more like an internal exercise, what we need to do. Or to be honest, I don't know who owns the domain. Maybe it's you, Wim, who owns the domain.
It's me. Yeah, but that's fine.
And we have to transfer also the trademark of the logo.
That's also fine. Because we built it.
Yes, and I think that is.
Is the whole thing like a no-brainer, or are there barriers to it?
For the sandbox, there are not so much barriers. We will need I'm just checking the requirements. We will need to apply also a DC or CLA.
Yeah.
So that would, the easiest way is to start running the DC bot. So you will need to sign off your commits. That's basically what it means.
Yeah, so the commits are, I think you have to, as a company or as an individual, you can have, is this the same as with Linux Foundation where you have the ICLA and the other CLA? So you have.
Yeah, but I would go, like, there is an option to use DCO or CLA, and DCO is a more lightweight thing. This is the developer certificate of origin. And that is basically, you just have to sign off your commits.
Okay.
And then you basically, with that, you are indicating that you have all the rights to contribute the code.
Yeah.
But the CLA, this is the one that's sort of universal across the CNCF landscape, right? So this is the central easy CLA or whatever the tool is called from.
It is the easy CLA what they are using, but I wouldn't go to the CLA level. For some companies, it is difficult to sign a CLA, so I would just go with the DCO, and DCO is enough.
Okay. And maybe just what are the steps that we'd have to do, or how long does the process take, and these kinds of things?
Yeah, it's a relatively long process. We have to create an issue in the CNCF sandbox repo, and then we will need to apply all of these things. And CNCF technical oversight committee has like review cycles of the projects. I think in every couple of weeks, but they have like a very big queue. So most probably we'll need to wait for getting our project into the TOC, and we also have to get a sponsor from the TOC. But I discussed with Ricardo Roja from CERN, and he already knew about the project because Swisscom demonstrated the project to him, and he's happy to sponsor it for the TOC. So that is more or less like handled. I just need to make it official, but for that I need to have the issue created in CNCF. So it's mostly it will be waiting what we will need to do.
Yeah.
And how long does, just pure curiosity, how long is the waiting period? As in, would it be end of year? Would it be sort of take some years?
It's longer than one expected, like 1 year.
Okay.
But I think it's better to start sooner than later, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's pure curiosity from my side.
No, I understood. Yeah. No, but it's a good question.
Absolutely, no, it's a right question. They have a huge backlog, but I think it's okay because I will do it in a way that I will just create the issue now and start working on the admin things. So we also would need to add the OSSF best practices badge to the repos. But that means like 1 PR, and it will just show some quality metrics about the repos. We don't need to reach any percentage of it yet. If we will go from sandbox to whatever is the higher level, then we will need to.
Yeah, so that I was going to ask, what is the next level, and what does that mean?
It's incubation. Yeah, it's next level is incubation, and that is hard. For that, I think we have to pass the whole best practices badge. We have to do regular releases. We have to.
We are doing that, right? But maybe we have to officialize it a little bit. But I think in my view, it's not. At least my view is that if you go to sandbox, your ambition is to go to incubation and higher.
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. We have to work on that, but it's my perception that it will be like a couple of years after the.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But you have to get here. But if we want to succeed, we have to do it with the ambition to get through the whole cycle, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yes.
What is it what is the whole thing bound to? Is it bound to the GitHub org, or is it bound to just SDC with config server and data server and so on? Because yeah, I'm thinking about SDC Lite and those kind of adjacent projects that we've published under that GitHub org. So
all included in my view.
It is, yeah, it is on GitHub org level. So if there is something there what we don't want to donate to CNCF, we have to move them to another org.
yeah, no, it's not that we want to exclude it. It's just
It's the
trying
whole.
to understand what kind of level stuff we're shifting over. Okay, if it's the whole org, then yeah, fine. Thanks.
And is there a chance that they reject us, or if they reject us, do we have to try again, or is there
The way it works, I mean, I've been involved a little bit in KPT at the beginning with Google, right? So what you need is basically people. So what they do is they open an issue, right? And then you need to have people say that they want it. So people like here on our call, right? So and all your neighbors and friends, get them to chime in onto it. It's a good thing. So that's how it typically works.
Okay.
Yes, so I will when I create an issue, I will share it on Discord, and then yeah, we can work on it together.
Because I also believe that we should share it to the Nephew community, because Nephew could be also an interested party, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or any other person. So yeah, so that's what happened. I have been involved in a few where so what it is, you have the issue and then they ask you to help, say +1 or vote yes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then of course there can be also people that don't like it, that vote against, right? But yeah, that's the process you go to. But most likely, I haven't seen people going against something most of the time, right?
I think not on sandbox level. So sandbox is like, it's a really low bar. And that's the strategy of CNCF, is to let lots of projects to get the sandbox level, and then like with the help of CNCF, you grew the project to incubation level.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah. So if there is no objection, I will start the process and I will keep reporting it both on Discord and here.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, and then maybe on Nephew.
Yes, so here what I wanted to mention, that there will be a Nephew developer event next week, 26th of September. And there are lots of sessions related KPT. And there is one session which is particularly about Nephew integration to KubeNet. It is on the 26th. No, I don't find it.
Yeah, Sagar is doing it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've discussed with him.
Sorry, I was lying. It is 25th from 11:45, a quarter to noon in CET.
It's in France, in Sophie Antipolis, I think, right?
It is in France, and there is a possibility for virtual participation. I do not know the logistics yet, but I will report it to Discord. How you can join.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
are
people interested, they can join. The discussion so far with Sagar is going to use the older implementation that we had, the 1.0 release. That's the current plan.
Okay, so that's the Nephew event, and I have another thing. I didn't put it during the agenda version, but now it came to my mind that we will have a cloud native telco day next spring before KubeCon, and the call for papers is open until 2nd of October. So if you would like to talk about SDC or any other KubeNet projects, then this is the time to think about a proposal.
What is the event about?
It's the same collocated event to KubeCon, like last year in London, the Cloud Native Telco Day.
Okay. So there is a collocated event again?
It is a collocated event again. The only difference from last year is now it is a full day event. So we need lots of papers.
Okay. Yeah, I'll submit. I mean, I can submit something. Yeah.
I put a link to the event to the chat.
Is this for KubeCon in North America?
No, this is KubeCon Europe in Amsterdam.
Okay. Amsterdam.
Yeah, so the event itself is
in March sometime 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right. Thank you. We ran out of time. Is there anything urgent? But yeah, so I think let's brainstorm on the secret stuff, right? And let's get that in the builds or architecture wise. So maybe each of us, let's brainstorm or let's think this through a little bit on how we would do it, and then we can get this going and support it, because I think, yeah, this is long overdue. All right, with that, I would like to thank everyone and talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.